Hi, welcome back to part 2 of the tutorial. Apparently I went a little too long. My webcam decided to cut me off, so we're going to do this in 2 parts. Basically, where I stopped was showing you how to put the cuff blank into your bracelet. I do want to mention though, and I forgot to go over this with you really quickly, before you put the cuff in there, whether you've already done the stitching or not, it doesn't make a difference. You're going to want to take your sheet of felt and you're going to hold your ball over the felt and trace the outline so that you have a pattern. I knew that I was going to be making several of these for an event, so I actually traced this onto cardboard and I cut out a template so that I didn't have to continue to use the leather since it's wiggly and wobbly. It made it a little bit easier having something rigid like the cardboard. You can use plastic, something a little more rigid, even foam core board. When you are tracing it onto your felt, you're going to want to cut it when you're cutting out your traced outline. Cut it so that your felt is about 1/4 of an inch smaller than your ball all the way around. So you're going to cut on the inside of your traced line. Or if you decide to take the extra step, you can make a template that's 1/4 of an inch smaller if you want to do that. Basically, once you have that, you can just cut it out. Again, you don't have to use red, it doesn't have to be baseball themed. So basically, your next step, you're going to just, as I mentioned, glue in your 6 by 1/2 inch cuff blank. And then once you have that glued in there, make sure all your strings are tucked in so there's nothing hanging out. You're going to take your felt, and then the best way that I found to do this so that it is centered is actually open up your bracelet, because remember you're going to have your metal cuff in there, and you can open it about to this wide so that it's not going to distort the metal too badly, and you can bend it back into the wrist shape. What I did once it was open was take my felt that I've cut out, hold it in place inside of the bracelet. That way you know where it's going to be going to. So once it's in place where you want it, I just hold it with my finger in the middle. You're going to put a little line right here of your hot glue, just tack it in place. And then once that's tacked down, you can pull this out and just leave that section there, and it's already where you need it to be. You can just put your glue up the sides. I did this little section, glued it up, one more little section, glued it up, and so forth all the way around until I did the whole thing in sections, maybe 3 or 4 sections, just so your glue is not drying by the time you get there, and you can make sure that it's nice and even and you have a chance to, you know, kind of press down the glue so that it's adhering well. And so you're not having any lumps, or, you know, you want it to look nice, especially if you're going to be selling these. Once you have your felt glued in and make sure everything is tucked into the bracelet, you can just hold it on top of your wrist and take it in your hand like this as you're putting it on your wrist, and just squeeze. Excuse me. Squeeze, and that'll bring it back to the shape, and you can make it larger, smaller. Like I said, it's pretty adjustable, and you can torque it just a little bit as you need and make it to where it needs to be if it's not perfectly rounded when you're done. That's it. It's a pretty basic tutorial on how you do these. The only thing that I didn't add in here was how to add the charm, which, like I said, unfortunately I don't have any more of these to show you how I did it. There's a couple of ways you can add charms. If you want to do just something to add a little bit of bling, you can add maybe a rhinestone embellishment or something like that. The only thing with that is, I wouldn't recommend heat pressing them. I tried; it makes the leather a little bit shiny, and the rhinestones don't stay on very well just because it's not a very porous surface. Your glue is not going to be able to adhere to the material very well, and they'll pop off. You can try it with some E6000 glue. I didn't, but I know that holds a little bit better than the Hot Fix glue on this type of material. I chose these specifically, and believe it or not, they are actually bracelet connectors. They're just, they're rhinestone bracelet connectors. I want to say I'm trying to get a little bit closer. They're, I want to say 22 millimeters. They can't just go by inches in America, but what I did for these because if you'll notice where the red stitching is, that's actually a loop, and then on this side there's a loop, because again these are bracelet connectors that I decided to repurpose. I took a jewelry punch and I punched a hole in the leather. I held the charm on top, punched a hole on both sides where the hole was. Make sure that it's even, because if these are crooked at all, you are going to notice and it's just not going to look as nice. Once I had the holes punched, I took my embroidery floss and just wrapped it around a few times, up through the hole, around, and then back down, up through the hole, around, and back down, just like basic stitching. The only thing to keep in mind is if you do want to add any type of embellishment that requires it to be sewn into the leather, which I personally prefer because there's much less chance that it's actually going to pop off and lose that embellishment, you're going to want to do that before you put your cuff and before you put your felt. Obviously you're going to have all of the stitching and everything on the inside tucked away, so it's a nice finished product when you're done. If anybody has any questions in regards to this tutorial, or if you think I missed something that you have questions on, please feel free to email me. As I said, I am in the process of liquidating my rhinestone business, so if I don't get back to you right away, I'm not ignoring you, and I will try and get back to you as quickly as possible. You can email me at thesaltycanuck@gmail.com. Again, that's the word the, salty, S-A-L-T-Y, Canuck, C-A-N-U-C-K, @gmail.com, all one word. And I'll try and get back to you as quickly as I can with any questions that you may have about making these bracelets. And then just really quickly, before I run out of time on this video, you are going to have the other half of your ball. I don't have the other half here with me, but I'll use this just as an example. If you don't want to use the side of your ball that we talked about that has the stitch, or the writing on it for your bracelets because of the writing, you can still use that. Don't throw it away. Go ahead and just take it and line it up, fold it in half, and then I don't have any unfortunately on hand, but you'll just get a 1-inch split ring, really cheap to pick up. You can get them at most retail stores. I ordered mine online. And just in bulk. You're basically going to just kind of fold this over, fit your ring over it so that your ring is in the center, just like this, like my fingers. Fold it over with the ring inside so that, pretend my fingers are the ring, and you have a keychain. Basically all you have to do at that point is just take your stitching, your needle, and just stitch all the way around, but you're going to go through at that point both sides. So you're going through 2 pieces as you're stitching to stitch the entire thing together, so that you've got a really easy keychain. You're not, wasting your materials. You're already using the ball, so why waste it? Save yourself a little bit of money and have some cute keychains to go with your bracelets. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to email me at thesaltycanuck@gmail.com. And I hope this was a helpful tutorial for all of you wanting to make these bracelets. Thanks.